Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hi there, Ricky.
What's going on, Josh? Nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. Just to start out with, can you introduce yourself real quick and kind of give a little gist? What you would tell to somebody that you met them for the first time?
Normally, if I meet someone for the first time, I really don't tell them what I do, but my name's Ricky Brabec. I'm very fortunate to race motorcycles for HRC for a living. HRC is Honda Racing Corporation, so it's the main hub of all of Honda. And I'm a rally racer, cross country motorcycle rider, basically, and I'm very fortunate and passionate in what I do. So I don't really tell many people that that's what I do for a living. I kind of brush it off my shoulders, but yeah, that's it. That's what I do. And
Well, for me, being extremely curious about that and wanting to kind of set the stage for, kind of what I wanted to, talk with you about or ask you about. That's what I needed to hear, and what somebody else that's never met you and never doesn't know what you do, is great to kind of at least have that out there as I dive into these questions. Because one of the neat things is like when I absolutely personally have been such a fan of the Dakar race. It's, in my opinion, it's like the coolest thing anyone can do. And that's where my initial interest in and then seeing and being introduced to you and what you're doing was that. So tell me, like, I want to just dive into that right off the bat. It's like, how did you walk into, or what were the things that happened for you to get that position to do what is clearly, in my opinion, the coolest fucking race in the world?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how it happened. I was just racing as a privateer locally out here, just chasing this series called National Hare and Hound Association, hosted by AMA. And back in the day, I thought that was pretty big, to get an AMA championship. And I was very fortunate to grab two of them. And unfortunately, trying to chase, 4 years of it, I broke my neck twice. So the first time I broke my neck, that's when I got the call from Honda. And they just asked, what I thought about rally. And I just kind of basically told them, it's cool. It's something I've always watched, going to high school or, middle school, I always would get home and come home and watch. There wasn't very many Americans racing, but I was just always in tune with just the Dakar. And I didn't know that there was other races, that even led up to the Dakar. I just thought it was the Dakar and that was it. So yeah, they called me when, obviously when I was injured, and asked if I was interested when I healed up, if I would be interested in doing a rally. And I said, yeah, for sure. So that led to them flying out to LA and driving to my house and signing my first contract with a neck brace on and my arm in a sling, from, a broken hand and broken collarbone. And, that led to my first rally. And after my first rally, I did okay.
Where was that first rally? So where
the first rally was in Abu Dhabi.
So you went straight from traditional supercross. I mean, jump back a second. So what were you specifically racing and competing in?
Yeah, so I was competing in Score, which is all the Baja races.
Yeah. Okay, so it was still rally and to some extent, right?
More or less, it was long distance racing, but not reading the road books.
So that's the difference. So that's really important, right? So
yeah,
when one, like for us laymen, that could be a big fan, to be able to make that separation where it says, what you were doing there was all on course. Somebody's filling you, somebody's giving you, and the big difference in how they separate those two types of racing is that you're now in total fucking control.
Yeah, correct.
You're deciding where you go, and that's a huge fucking thing.
Yeah, and hoping you don't get lost.
Huge fucking thing.
Yeah.
So and that type of racing, is any of that type of racing done in the US?
There's no rally events held in the US. There's one rally event called Sonora Rally that happens in Mexico. But it's like a, it's like an entry level rally. It's not super difficult, but it's not super easy. It's just enough to get your feet wet.
So did you, prior to getting that invite to do this, and I always mispronounce it, Dakar, help me out here.
Yeah, it's Dakar.
Dakar. Okay, so as you're doing the Baja racing, which is fucking awesome, I had the opportunity to actually do I raced a car through it, non during the race, but post race as a payment for a creative project I did for some company. It was all weird, but I got to do it, and I was like, fucking, this is amazing. And I ended up crashing the fucking car. I drove into a cactus going like 60 miles per hour and snapped the axle. So it was like
Nice.
that was my experience. But I fell in love, at least as a fan, from that stage. And the amount of control and responsibility you have in that race is still fucking huge in relative terms to what us normal people think of racing. It's like when you're actually you may have a support team, but you're still you're still on your own, right? You're in the middle of nowhere for a good portion of that race.
Yeah. You're basically in the middle of nowhere from 4 a.m. until 3 or 4 p.m, just trying to find your way until you get back to your support crew. And anything that happens, between those hours, it's all on the clock. So if you're late to a check or you're late to the start, you get dock time. If you miss a waypoint, you get dock time. And leading to a waypoint, if you're not following the road book, the paper map, then obviously you're gonna, get lost and get confused, and now your odo's off, and then now you're going crazy in your head, and there's a lot going on.
So you went straight to Abu Dhabi. So your first rally race is that, I want to get my terminology right. So that's true rally when you're in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. It was a World Rally Championship race.
So you went straight into the major. It's straight, fuck it. You're right in it. You didn't do any preliminary small type things. It's straight to the fucking, you went straight to the high class hooker. You didn't go on dates. You went straight to the,
No, we went straight to the top, straight to the brothel.
Fucking rad.
Yeah, it was the first round of the World Rally Championship. And then, so I did well there. And then after that, I only signed a 1-race contract. And then after that, I signed another race contract, which was in Argentina, South America. And then after that, I did okay there. And then they saw something in me, and then they gave me a 2-year contract to go to Dakar and do the whole championship.
So how many races are in that series that you do in a year in that?
There's 5.
5.
Yeah.
And they're, just name off the different wild, cool places that these are at, because that's so cool.
There's Abu Dhabi. There was one in Argentina, which was called Ruta 40. And then there's one in Africa. There's one in Silkway, which is it's called Silkway, but it's Mongolia to Russia. And then there's one in Brazil, and there was one last year in Kazakhstan, or this year, I think, in Kazakhstan.
No shit. So they are changing each year. Besides the main, is the finisher the Dakar?
So the Dakar,
I'm gonna mispronounce it through this entire fucking conversation.
No, you're good. You're good. Everyone normally does. The Dakar is its own race. There's no series for the Dakar. The Dakar is like the main thing. That's like the Super Bowl basically of dirt bikes. But there's a World Rally Championship that has 5 races. So you can get like a number 1 in Dakar, and then you can get a number 1 in the World Rally Championship, and they're completely different. But to go to Dakar, you have to qualify, and you have to complete one World Rally Championship race.
Okay.
So like, you can't just go sign up and say, yeah, I'm going to go race Dakar.
One would hope not, right? That would be you'd have a lot of fucking, that would be a shit show at best if that was the case.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of confused people, I think.
So are these 5 locations different every year, or can they vary, just kind of like you're saying, Kazakhstan, Argentina, but then there's Brazil, there's, you know, Mongolia to fucking Russia? I mean, fucking nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done that rally. I've heard it's pretty gnarly, pretty crazy. But normally the locations are all the same, same countries.
Okay.
But different cities of the country, you know. There used to be a rally in Chile and Argentina, but they completely left South America now. So now we're normally in the East.
So going from no navigation responsibilities to complete navigation responsibilities, from you leave in the morning and you're responsible from, you know, in all ways on how you get to point B, because there's really only A and B, right?
Yeah.
And that, so learning that navigation and learning to, you know, read maps, that was all right then and there. That was the, you did not, I mean, you know, it's not something you trained for, you had some experience with in your previous life. It was like, fuck, this is it.
Yeah, my first rally, I had no idea what I was doing. I never rode a rally bike. I never rode the big Bertha bike. I never rode any road book, nothing. I always, every time I raced, I was following ribbon and arrows.
Yeah.
And it was definitely stepping out of my comfort zone to go to my first rally. You know, I was like a fish out of water. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was lost every day.
But so getting back, so now I want to just jump way back. So you grew up in where?
I grew up in Southern California. You know, Riverside is where I was born, and I lived there for 12 years. And then I moved to the high desert, which is where I currently live, and it's called Hesperia, California. About 30 minutes north of Riverside, you know, on the way to Vegas. So literally my front yard is like the open desert. I could ride from my house every day if I wanted to.
And when did you start riding?
I started riding motorcycles. It's crazy because I learned to ride motorcycles where I ride motorcycles now, you know, when I was like 2.
I mean, as young as one can get on a bike, you were on a bike.
Yeah, my dad took me out camping with him and his friends when I was just 2 years old, and that's when I learned to get squirrely and crash into bushes.
And when did you start to have that interest in going? I mean, did you always have an interest in being your life, you know, riding bikes being your life, or did you have other things? And then kind of, how did that come to fruition? You know, that, because it's a fucking dream for just about anybody, right?
Yeah. I grew up racing bicycles.
Mountain bikes or road bikes?
Like BMX, bicycle motocross.
Yeah.
And I did that until I was like 13 years old, and I just got burned out. You know, my dad was pushing me heavily, like, to do good and race and like be a good BMX guy. And I just got burned out. You know, it's a good thing to do as a kid. If I, you know, when I have kids, I'm going to take them to go bicycle racing. It's a fun thing to do. And then once I moved to the desert, I started riding dirt bikes, you know, because I could ride dirt bikes every day, you know, when I was living at home. And I did my first race at the end of 2007.
How old were you?
2007, I don't know, 16.
Young.
Yeah. And then, ever since then, you know, I was camping and racing, you know, as much as I can with my family. And then, unfortunately, I graduated high school, and, you know, my dad, you know, as every father should, you know, kind of cut all ties and said, you have to work and it's time to grow up now. You know, you're not in school, and you have to be like responsible of your own actions and toys, basically. So I worked and braced as much as I can, but back then minimum wage was like $9 an hour.
And where
So
did you work? Like, what, just to set, like, what were you
my
doing?
my first job was like when I was in high school, I was working on a motocross track, but not very much, just watering the track, being that guy. And then when I graduated high school, I worked at this place called Country Oak and Stoves, and we basically installed fireplaces, like pellet stoves and wood burning stoves. And then they got slow, laid me off. Um, and then I went to work for my dad's company, which is industrial sheet metal. And then I just stayed there for 5 years and hated every single day and didn't like it and wanted to ride dirt bikes. So one day I just decided to change my life and start racing and going on a diet, because it's working kind of like construction, just drinking every day and just eating horrible food and gained some weight. And
So that, how old were you at that time when you said, okay, what I'm doing isn't what I want to be doing? And then to say, I'm going to change everything. And I call those and you probably had 1,000 of them. And you will, if you haven't had 1,000 of them, you will certainly have 1,000 of them in good time. But that fuck it moment where you're sitting there and you're like going, fuck, dude, okay, I'm doing this, I'm not into it. And then you just kind of throw caution to the wind a bit. Fuck it, I'm going to be a racer or whatever, that thing that was. Tell me about that. That's my favorite shit.
Yeah, I was probably 23 years old. And then I just said fuck it, I don't want to work anymore. And I needed to change the way I was eating and change the way I was riding my motorcycle. So I just started to change slowly and be on my own program. And, I never had a trainer, never had a nutritionist, just kind of learned as I went. And it all paid off. I was getting sponsors for like a couple $100 a month, getting, two big sponsors for like $1,000 a month. And then once I was able to secure like $3,000 a month, I was like, hey, Dad, I don't need to work anymore. I'm making plenty of money right now to race motorcycles and live. Like when I was making like $3,500 a month, I was so stoked. And then eventually that led to not working, obviously, and going to the motocross track 3 days a week and really picking up speed and really, dropping weight. And then that's what led to being successful in off-road racing.
Yeah, because the pro athletes I know that, range from skiing to car racing to NHL to whatever. It's like going, the NHL player or that professional traditional team athlete trains, right? And every action sport athlete that's good that I know trains as much. Their diet and their training, like between riding a bicycle, between, resistant training, it's as equally intense for an action sport athlete, someone that races, someone that does BMX, someone that does skiing. It's like when it's fucking at the level. It's like when it's at the level of what a traditional, trained athlete, and it's like when they're at par, which is rad. I lived in Whistler and worked and was around a bunch of pro athletes in skiing 20 years ago. And then that led me into a life of having interaction with pro athletes from that point through today. And I love the fact that that perception of kind of perception that it was a little bit less professional in their approach towards their physical health for an action sport athlete as it was for a traditional athlete. But it's fucking not. It's not. You watch like a Travis Pastrana and the way that he trains, and it's like he's obviously extremely talented, right? But he trains extremely hard.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he trains that much anymore, but back in the day, I'm
sure. he just did it. When I was, around him, the times in which I was, you got to see that it's like it was very defiant of that perception.
Yeah.
He was, he may have been loose and all these crazy things, but to accompany that, you couldn't do what he was doing, and you certainly couldn't do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Without real fucking training.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it takes. People people that aren't at the level say, oh, it must be nice, it must be nice to do what you do. But it's like, motherfucker, you know how hard we work to get here?
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're and as like that level of participation that you have towards you being able to do what you do, that pride. I mean, I just can't imagine, or I can't imagine that level of pride and the level of enjoyment you have because you are all of that training and that result of your ability to race and put up with that because that fucking long distance stuff and in that environment, it's fucking, I mean, it's gotta be fucking wildly treacherous on your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah, no, it's day in and day out. We work for it, and the Dakar is definitely something that's next level. It's like 14 days of grinding every single day, and then again, you get those people saying, "Oh, it must be nice. I wish I could do that," or you get those people that say, "That's easy." Anyone could ride a motorcycle every day, and it's like, if anyone could do it, then why doesn't everyone do it?
Well, and that, I mean, how old are you now?
30.
Relatively young, right?
Yeah.
You're experienced enough, so you're at the sweet spot probably in racing. Would you say? In
Yeah,
that,
for rally, yeah, I would say this is the age to be.
because you're experienced enough now, you're conscious of all that hard work that it takes to do what you do.
Old enough to be wise and matured in the racing industry, and what's right and what's wrong, and when to slow down and when to go fast.
When and that knowledge now, I mean, so how many years have you done these rally type races where you're in total control of again your navigation?
This is my 6th year, dude, doing rally. And
I,
honestly, uh yeah, still learning. You can never know too much about what you do. You can always learn something new. I mean, maybe you don't learn something new, but you learn different ways to get a step ahead. And this goes for any discipline, anyone's job, anyone's hobby, etc. But honestly, dude, the first 3 years of rally, I was kind of, fresh, like a fresh fish. Like my first year rally, for sure, I didn't know anything. My second year rally, I thought I knew something, but I still didn't know shit. The third year rally, it started like making sense, and it was more natural. And then every year, from then, from basically the third and fourth year, every time I do a road book or every time I go training or every time I go to a race, like I learn something or I know what I've done in the past didn't work. So I know what works and I know how to get there quicker, basically. And uh, it's rally never stops evolving. It's every race they're putting new rules out there. Every race they're making a different style road book. Every race they're limiting, the speed or the parts or the tires, shit like this. So as a racer, even supercross, dude, those guys are gnarly. Those supercross and motocross guys, they ride every single day.
Oh, their athleticism is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, just try to ride for an hour and you're fucking, it's like going, fucking get out of here.
yeah, and obviously, I'm good friends with Andrew Short, former supercross motocross racer. He told me because I'm interested in supercross and motocross. I don't race it, but just to see what they do is gnarly. And I asked Andrew, he said if you miss one day of doing motos, that's 2 seconds a lap slower that you miss.
Wow.
So if you put that in perspective, after a 20-minute moto, if you miss one day and you're losing 1 to 2 to 3 seconds a lap, you're not going to do very good in the main.
No
So
shit.
yeah, I said the same thing, because I can't ride a dirt bike every day. I'll get burned out like anyone, like people don't like going to work 5 days a week or 6 days a week, right? So being like an athlete, you know, I can make my own schedule. You know, obviously there's times where I have to go race and be gone for 3 weeks at a time. But when I'm home training, I'm like, hey, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, I'm good on the motorcycle, and the rest of the time I'll ride my bicycle and like, you know, train, resistance training.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the supercross, motocross guys, those guys, dude, they got to go every single day to stay on the level.
And that, so the lifespan, like in which someone can do supercross is pretty short now, right? It's like when it's a young man's game. And
Yep.
by the time you get to a certain age, you know, you're broken, because it not only taxes you like you're describing in the sense of your training, but it's physically fucking hard on you. I mean, it's not even if you not even putting crashing aside, it's physically fucking hard on your joints.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, supercross and motocross, I'd say most of the guys retire at 27.
Fucking nuts.
Because you have everyone that's riding motorcycles wants to race supercross or motocross, right? So you have these little fast shits that are like 18 years old that
Just
are
loose in the head too. They're
no fear. They haven't crashed yet.
Small brain. Fucking
Yeah, so they're on the gas.
yeah.
And then you got these guys that are 25 that are like seasoned, you know, and they know. But now there's kids coming up to them, pressuring them, and now they're getting older, most likely with a kid or a wife or in a serious relationship. So they don't want to get hurt. So then they're just like, I'm done. Then you have this 18-year-old kid coming in. So supercross and motocross is a short lifespan. Like you said, you know, it's day in, day out. They're physically tired. Where rally, the prime age for rally is 30 to 35.
But I think you get that balance and that mental challenge that I think, as you said, you can identify that, and hopefully, you know, you can definitely have it in anything you do. But to have that is everything, in my opinion, is to have not only that physical thing that's demanding, that accompanies that if and when it accompanies that mental challenge, and that like your presence, like you have to be extremely present to race those types of races.
Mm-hmm.
And you're using not only your it's physically demanding, but you're also it's mentally demanding. And there's a lot of, I mean, we often feel really good when we're mentally challenged.
Yeah.
And when there's new things and there's progression, like as you stated, it's like when it's always changing, meaning you're always adapting, but that keeps you curious. That keeps you interested.
Exactly.
Fucking awesome.
And dude, if I'm not having fun, and if things aren't changing and it's every day the same thing, I'm out. Like
most people check out, at least mentally, if they don't have those things too.
Yeah, it's like I can wake up every day and do like, you know, the same program as far as like eat and train. But it's like if so I go to the gym, but every day is a different workout, you know, different part of the body, whatever. But could you imagine going to work or whatever and literally do the same exact thing every single day? Like you can get so used to it that you're doing it with your eyes closed. Like I want to be able to like work, you know, I want to do something different, you know, every other day or something to keep my mind, you know, exercising and keep it going.
Well, that is, it's like when that mental exercise, and that there's I mean, some people, I imagine, find tremendous enjoyment in consistency and the security that comes with that. I think for me, it drives me fucking nuts. Like I love the adventure and the wander that comes with something that's new, and to throw something new at you. And again, it's like one, but I think you start to support that by having structure. Like you're saying, you've got structure in your diet, you've got structure in your training, and you get to complement that with fucking the wildness and unknown that comes in this other element. And those things together provide fucking awesome life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if something new, creates an adventure that you have to figure out, that's what I want.
That your mind needs as much exercise or as much engagement as your body.
Exactly. Healthy life.
Yeah, and that's why that race, and that's the initial thing, like as a spectator, like, and I always try to put an emphasis on, don't just be a spectator, always participate, get in, fucking dive in, don't watch life through your television or through your computer. Go, if you want to do something, if you find something interesting or want to be interesting, which I think everyone does, get out there and just fucking attack life and do something interesting, whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree.
And that Dakar is one of those things that's like it's like such a wild, cool thing to watch and to see what you guys do. It's like I've been like a kid as a spectator, and I'm not like that with any sport.
I mean, I'm the same way, dude. I don't really like ball sports. So I'm the same way, like with Dakar. I mean, I race Dakar now. So when I'm there, I'm still curious to like who won in the car category, who won in the side-by-side category, who won in the truck category, like how far back was I, or how far ahead was I? How far back is, so-and-so? What do we have to do tomorrow? What's the strategy for tomorrow? Okay, well, what's the strategy for the day after tomorrow? Because it's all a game. So, you can't just think about tomorrow in the Dakar. You have to think about maybe 3 days in advance to position yourself for that special day. Like it's a game, and this is part of like the mind exercise. Like how are you gonna place yourself tomorrow so that way it'll help you for the day after, or maybe the day after that, because it all leads up, like if tomorrow you do good, but you don't want to do good, you want to do bad to help for the next day. Then the next day, you started at the complete opposite end of where you wanted to. So now if you did that, now you're just mind fucking yourself. So it's the same, dude. Like even that we race the Dakar, we're still into it as spectators, trying to like judge, where someone else is going to finish, and where you have to finish compared to that other person.
But it's a living chess game.
Exact 100%.
Fucking awesome. I mean, that is fucking awesome. And so the one racing analogy that was given to me when somebody said, "Here's a card, go race," and it was like going, your eyes always need to be on the horizon, right? But what you're riding over or what you're driving over right now should be somewhat intuition, right? That's something that you now register. Yeah, so because it's like going, but your mind, and so you're toggling, and it's this wonderful mind game. It's like going, looking at life a little bit that same way. It's like going, and it's like when my eyes are way down the road or way on the horizon, and the things I may be doing right now are a little bit managed and ran by intuition. So it's like going, and then you toggle back and forth really fast, and it becomes a game where it's like going, it's fun.
Yeah, it's a real life video game, more or less, except for you can't just restart.
Yeah, and there's that, and the pressure of not being able to restart is fucking good.
Yeah, and you can't push pause.
Yeah, and then I loved that analogy, and it was so applicable to like so many parts of life after that person said that and shared that with me.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah. All right, man. I know you're real busy, but you made my day. This is fun.
Yeah. No. Hey, thank you for having me. It's like I said, it's great to catch up with you, and I mean, it'd be super sick to get out there and ride Harleys with you, but I don't know, man. It's far away for me to ride my Harley out there, and it's a far ride for you to ride the Panhead out here.
Well, I'll be down there. It's like when I make it through California, and the neat part is when I was, because I've ridden in that area where you're at, Generally on my way to Utah, because I've gone back through Utah a couple times after I have to go to California. Like I go down to LA for work or something.
Yeah.
And then I come back through that area. So I have somewhat of a familiarity.
Oh yeah, then for sure, because Utah's like 3.5 hours from my house, 4 hours from my house. And if you go to LA, if you go from LA to Utah or vice versa, you have to literally pass the freeway right here by my house.
And if and worst case scenario, because Utah is pretty awesome. If I can get you to Utah,
Dude, I'll go to Utah any day.
yeah, because it's really fun. I'll be in Utah a couple times this fall.
Dude, let me know. I love Utah. It's so sick.
It is. Yeah, I mean it's like going and that to have. I think we all like. I love the adventure and that curiosity and what I've not done, and it gets me like I'm a kid. I'm a 47-year-old fucking kid.
Hell
and
yeah!
I never want to lose that because it's something I'm actually embracing more and more. The older I get, less than the opposite. What you see others, it's like when they start to run from it. Grow up. That analogy. Grow up. Fuck that. It's like
yeah, dude, I'm the same. Fuck
that. Yeah. All right, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, good to talk to you. Good to see you. We'll keep in touch and let's have some fun.
100%. Yeah. And we'll get more Black Bear brand on you too.
Dude, hey, the vest is sick.
Sweet.
It's starting to get cooled off right now, like at my home. So it'll be nice to wear it.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Live young forever.
Absolutely. Later, buddy.
Testing 1, 2, 3.